This is Moore County, North Carolina Historical Association member Bob Brown interviewing Mr. Robert William Davis, last surviving family member of the family that owned and occupied the historic Bryant House in Moore County, North Carolina. I am interviewing Mr. Davis on site at the Bryant House, built around 1820. Mr. Davis, can we start our conversation with some personal data about yourself? Tell us about yourself.
Well, I was born here in this house. Had a granny woman for a doctor, and I never left here till I went to school at that time Hemp, North Carolina, but now it's Robbins, North Carolina. And I never saw a brick house till I was 7 years old. I thought I'd really hit a great place when I saw all those houses. Things were good then. They were tough, but still we had probably a better situation than a lot of these people around here, because my grandpa, when he died, he left a good farm, working good, and he carried a route to Pinehurst, and he'd kill beef and have his fellows gathering different kinds of stuff that he grew here, and selling it down there, and he made a pretty good living at it. Yankees moving to Pinehurst at that time, and they still do.
You were born in 1925?
Right.
And they were coming here, the Yankees were coming here in 25, and...
Yeah, they were here then.
How big was the farm?
I think we had almost 200 acres of the farm and the timberland.
Right.
Actually, the farm was not a real big one. We mainly had one horse, but we worked him all the time. But that's after things slowed down, and when my grandpa died, all the main things slowed down.
Was that because of the Depression or because he was gone?
It was because he was gone and not here to keep it going. And I think my daddy's interest was out working a different way of making a living.
I see.
My mother did a real good job of raising 13 children and feeding us. And her mother was living here and was a cook, and a great cook. We ate good. We bathed in the creek and played in the creek and played on sawdust piles where the sawmills would come through, you know, and there'd be a big pile of sawdust there, and we'd get up there and slide down on. We'd make us some things to slide on these big barrels or hogsheads.
I see.
I think that's what they call them. But they were long enough that we'd put them together like that. Each end would be shaped like that, and the middle would be open mouth. We'd grease them things and do everything, just raise on it. and see who could do it the fastest and everything. And we enjoyed our play time, but we did have a lot of work time. We got along real good. And
when you say we, are you talking about your brothers and sisters?
Yeah, them mainly, and down to I was about 16. I flew the coop. I went down. That was when they were preparing for World War II. I went down. They were needing help down there at Fort Bragg. I went down there and got me a job. I wasn't making any money, but I was changing my life. Then I went from there to Newport News and went to work in the shipyard. I learned a lot there. And then I went from there to Baltimore and got a job braking on the railroad. But I didn't like that because they put me in the yard instead of on the road.
Oh.
And all I did is run them things, build up the ones to take them wherever they was going, you know. And then when they come back, they'd be loaded, and we'd have to take them, break them apart, and put them where they needed the material.
Right.
And it got to be a work job, but that was along about the time that I got a draft, and I was happy that they called me.
So you were called up, and this is the Second World War.
Yeah.
What happened when back on the farm? What happened? You left. What about the people that stayed back here? How did they make out without you?
Well, I doubt they missed me a whole lot, but I'm sure I was one of the workers and one of the hunters.
Did you have certain chores as a boy?
Well, not really, but I did. It was usually I'd stick with the job that I liked to do the best, you know.
And what was that?
Well, looking after the cows and the horses, hunting and killing rabbits and squirrels, and quail.
You must have had a shotgun then.
Yeah, I had a shotgun and I had a .22 rifle.
Any deer? Any big game?
There weren't any deer in this area now, but they eventually did come from Fort Bragg here because they had them down there on the reservation. But it was several years that there wasn't any deer hunting, and now that's all it is, deer hunting. People kill a lot of deer for food, and hunters give away a lot that they kill, you know. And I'm sure they have them up north too. I had a friend up in Allegheny Mountains. I went home with him. They had a lot of deer up there in them hills.
What did you eat when you were on the farm? Did you eat what was produced on the farm?
Mostly all. There's one thing I always enjoyed getting was peanut butter. We'd buy it.
That was a treat, huh?
Yeah. And now it seems like they're making a lot more peanut butter because we got so much of it now I can't keep up with it.
How about apple butter?
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I loved apple butter.
Did your mother make it?
Not really, but she did make different, just chopped up, run it through a grinder and canned it, you know, and it wouldn't have that flavor and taste that you were talking about. We canned a lot of
vegetables and probably fruit too, right?
Mostly fruit.
You had an orchard here?
Not a very big one. There's a few apple trees, but at the time I'm talking about was probably when I was about 13 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The northerners found out they could grow peaches down here. and they were shipped on the train north. The ones that were a little bit too ripe to stand the trip up there, they'd give them to us. And I had some sisters that were working at the packing houses and all over there here at West End. Right. And they'd give them about 4 bushels every evening to bring home. We'd hop on those things and can them, put them in a half-gallon jar. We'd can 500 quarts to get us through the winter till the next winter. And we did can everything that grew. We'd can a lot of beans and peas, and we'd can them in a different way. We'd put them in cans and reuse them over again, you know. But with fruit, we'd put them in glass jars, and we'd usually have to get new lids or rubbers or something to seal it.
Screw in the tops.
But that was primarily our biggest, but a lot of tomatoes. We canned a lot of tomatoes, and we put tomatoes and different things that began to get where there wasn't enough to do a full half a gallon. We'd put them together and make soup. And that was something good. We'd eat real good soup.
Where did you do your cooking? Was it on that fireplace there?
No, it was in the kitchen.
Oh, the McLennan house?
Yeah. My grandmother was a great cook, and people just loved to come here and eat because she put out such a good meal. And we eat a lot of what you call creases. You know what creases are?
No, I don't.
It was a plant that it was a real good, it had leaves big enough on it, cook it just like any greens you could get hold of. And I used to look out the top window there and look, we had a field down there in the flat toward the creek. It'd be full of those creases, and there'd be about 6 or 8 old black ladies out down there gathering it, you know. After they started getting this stuff to spray around plants instead of hoeing around them, you know, did away with all that good stuff.
They die on their own?
You know, I don't ever see any anymore. Might would see some in the mountains, toward the mountains, in the clay country. We love those things. I think maybe y'all might have called them watercress.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
I think they're close to can. We call them creases.
You just mentioned something about hoeing. That's how you keep the weeds down, I think, right? They didn't hoe around the plants?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that's one way to eliminate the weeds so that the plant gets all the nutrition. How did you prepare the ground in, say, the spring, I guess?
Can
you tell me about that?
Put what you call a turning plow and turn, but with that one horse that we used there later on in the years, he wouldn't cut but about that much as he went along with that plow that had a flat on the bottom and whatever you call that thing, I forgot, wang.
And that's what turns the dirt over.
Yeah, and turned it over. Then we had disc. We put 2 horses to.
Where'd you get the other one?
We kept 2 a big part of the time, but we'd get one place or another, or we could borrow one. Neighbors would loan you a horse if they knew you would be good to it, you know.
Right. Did each farmer, did he charge the other farmer when that happened, or was it, how did that work?
Not with us, they didn't, but they probably did people that didn't have any horses at all, they'd hire the whole business to come and break it up for them.
Yeah. Was the whole 200 acres under crops?
It was probably 25 acres, maybe.
25. But that was enough to keep this family going.
Yeah.
And sell off some, too.
Yeah. A way that we could get cash was we had a lot of timber growing straight up white oak. And we could cut that white oak and cut them off 8.5 feet long and hew them, you know, on each side, make them flat. And the railroad paid good money for them.
Wow. They make railroad ties out of them?
Yeah, that's what they used. Mostly, it lasts a long time compared to anything else, unless it'd be a fat lot. Or, like I say, there was always, we could go out there with 2 or 3 remade axes and a cross-cut saw and get a hold of a pretty good bunch of money pretty quick.
Did you sharpen your tools? Was that something that was done right here on the farm?
Yeah, we did.
Axes and saws?
We had a wheel, you know. That was mainly what we used to start them off with, and then you'd have file to finish them like good axes, you know.
Right. Did you have a sawmill on the site, on the farm?
We did have a sawmill down here for several years. And I guess that's probably the reason that's what I did the rest of my life, was sawmill. I'd go around and buy timber and buy a certain amount of timber and estimate how much it is worth to me and bid against somebody else, or sometimes if they liked you enough, they wouldn't even get anybody else to bid with you.
Right.
But now they're going around just cutting down the trees, and they got everything to load them on trucks and take them to the big mill.
Mm-hmm.
They've been they're 1 or 2 fellers, old timers, that still got a sawmill between here and Robbins, some Garner boys up there. They make a good living at it, but they don't spend no money. Well, they are beginning to buy equipment, you know.
Mm-hmm. Let me go back to when you were just a boy. At some point, you picked the time. Tell me what a typical day was for you. What time did you get up in the morning?
I didn't have a certain time, but I'd usually get up pretty early in the morning. Now, of course, when I was going to school, we had to get up earlier, too. I had to walk about a mile to get the bus to go to Robbins. Finally, they changed us to go to West End, and the bus came by here then.
On this road?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Now, how far is it to West End?
About 7 miles.
Okay. You said your sisters worked there in West End.
Yeah, they had an old vehicle pickup truck thing that they'd drive over there and bring back the fruit. I don't think Kay she didn't come along in time to help in the peach orchards, but my older sisters worked there, and we had a real good principal of West End School that seemed to have a way that he liked to help us any way he could. He'd always look out for my sisters to have a job, you know.
Right.
But he was, during the time when school was not going, he was the boss man in the pack house, and he knew our family and all. He had a daughter that had come spend the weekend a lot of time with my sister. They were buddies, but I'm sure all of them are dead and gone now.
Okay, so we got you what? Did you have chickens?
Yeah.
And a rooster? Did the rooster wake you up every day, or?
Well, yeah, they run out here on the yard and everywhere. There's enough of children that you'd be watching and find out where their nest was, and they could be anywhere. And we ate eggs, and we loved eating eggs along about Easter time, you know. Mm-hmm. We get a lot of boiled eggs there, and we'd pick out one and see who had the toughest shell on it. Have a lot of fun.
Just tap them.
Yeah.
Somebody's would break,
them,
and somebody's wouldn't.
Yeah.
Did your grandmother do the cooking for the family?
She did.
Does that mean then that you, after you got up, you went over to the McLennan house and had breakfast? Is that where breakfast was?
Yeah. Yeah, and every meal.
Every meal, okay.
Yeah, and when we were working in the field around, she had a plow wing or something that she had hit with a hammer. And
come and get it.
Yeah.
Tell me about what was different. Was anything different between a normal work day and Sundays?
Well, not a whole lot of different. Later on, saying the ox is fell in the pit or whatever, you can pull him out on Sunday. You've heard that saying, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I forgot how it was, but if the ox fell in the ditch.
You'd get him out on Sunday.
Yeah.
Well, Jesus said that.
Yeah.
You remember your Sunday school days, huh?
Well, yeah, some.
How long did it take you to get to church? Do you remember?
Well, it'd probably take about an hour or a little more, an hour and a half.
The roads were dirt, right, in those days?
A lot of times when I was going to Robbins, we got in those clay roads up there, and it'd rain, and we'd get stuck, and maybe walk back home.
The horse would slip?
Yeah.
And the wagon too, I guess.
Well, what it was old single wheel trucks, but they were rough looking old trucks and have just a single wheel, where today they have dual wheels, you know, and they wouldn't be very big. And of course the road was rough. Some places they had a tractor to pull the drag on the road, and sometimes they'd have 2 or 3 mules to pull. But they didn't keep them up. You just did the best you could.
Do you remember your first train trip?
I think I do. I got on one at Pinehurst, I think, and rode to Raleigh. Us boys, when they'd be going real slow, we'd hobo a little bit.
The hobos jumped on board?
Yeah, jump on the hole there, you know, ride maybe a while and then trot back home, just for the fun of it. Hoboing was a big thing back then. A lot of the Western songs and everything is mixed with hobos, you know, and riding horses and trains. When I used to go to the spring, we had a well, but it was not any good. But we had 2 pretty good springs.
And you had the creek. Did you use the creek to draw water?
We'd have the barrels and things down at the creek and take them down there and wash them down there.
Oh, I see.
Usually get old barrels that's getting sort of old, you know, and leaking a little bit, and patch them up a little, and we'd use them, and we'd usually have a steel drum that we'd heat the water with. There'd be something that had been shipped as metal barrel, you know. we build a fire under that and get the water hot, and it'll do a good job on dirty work britches. And then they'd rinse them out in the creek. There was a road went through the creek down there.
You mean before the bridge?
Yeah. Mainly it was used that way when I was a little feller, but it seemed like they still had a road that they moved the bridge again. It was mainly for our use and neighbors, that we had a ford down there that everybody enjoyed using. It had gravel in it. And we'd go to all the fields on the other side over there. It's still there. People moved rocks and everything and sort of messed it up.
Beside you had a horse. Did you have any mules? Did they help out?
Later on, we did have some mules because we started sawmilling some, and we'd use them both places.
Do they require any more work than a horse?
I would say in the woods that a mule will take care of itself better than a horse will.
Mm-hmm.
Out here on a farm, a horse will tame up to you and be a pal to you and work too.
Right. Did you have any cattle?
Well, we just primarily had our own, usually about 3 or 4 cows, and we'd use 2 or 3 of them to milk them. Did
you sell the cream, or did your mother sell the cream, or?
No.
This was just for consumption?
Pretty much drank it, and well, it made plenty of butter, and we drank all kinds of clabber milk, and couldn't drink that blinky milk. Blinky milk, yeah.
No.
I don't either, but the Yankees we call it Blue John. When that's the milk that's changing from sweet to sour.
Oh, to sour, okay. Is that buttermilk?
Sort of bad taste to it.
Yeah, is that buttermilk?
No.
That's something else.
Yeah, it's more like it's got whey and stuff in it, you know. The people that grew, there's a lot of cheese being made in North Carolina now. They know how to do it. I don't know how to do it. I know my grandma and my mother used to put whey in, not whey, but well, it'd be drawing the whey out of white sour milk, or well, it actually wouldn't be. What they make this stuff and sell it in the stores? What do you call it? I'd eat some today.
Homogenized?
Cottage cheese.
Oh, cottage cheese.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they'd make that. They'd pour it into a cheesecloth, and it'd drip.
Strip through.
Drip, and it'd leave the cottage cheese in the thing, the net.
Were there any bees on the farm? Did you keep bees?
Oh, yeah. Bees were easy to handle back then, but they're not anymore. My grandmother looked after the bees and did the cooking, too. Sometime I'd go out there with her and help her cut off a limb when they're moving, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be swarming to go hunt another place.
They sting you?
They'd sting you if you let them. Or sometime, whether you let them or not, they would. People used to go out in the woods at night and have a bee cut in there.
Because they were sleeping and they're lethargic?
Yeah. Yeah, they'd rob bees at night and get the honey. My grandmother, she'd have her some old clothes, throw it away or something, and wrap it around a stick and get fire on it, you know, and get it smoking.
Right. They don't like smoke.
And then she could handle the bees. They would think there was fire in their place, I think. And I don't know why. I've read about them, but I forgot that smoke will slow the bees down where they won't bite you so bad or try to bite you. I bought a few hives and got a man to look after them that did that work. And he looked after. I told him I didn't care about the honey. I just wanted the pollen. He took the honey out of it for about 4 years, and finally he quit. And
so your supply of pollen disappeared, huh?
I don't know why, but honey's still good like it always was.
Mm-hmm.
But the bees are from a different country, and there's a lot of bad bees that swarm and kill you if you don't watch out.
When you're on the farm here, what did you do for, say, entertainment? What did you do for fun?
Well, we always, the young children, we always have fun in the creek and some old wore-out wagons or something, and take them up the hill and ride them down. And you didn't have to worry about people running the road much then. We'd have a lot of fun with making up some wagons and riding them and playing in the creek, swimming and fishing and all that stuff.
Well, you had mentioned
a lot of fun to visit too, visit your friends if you got time and go back and forth. And
did you have any music?
yeah, we had a world of music and dancing and singing.
Right here in this living room here?
Yeah.
When your friends came over?
Yeah.
Relatives?
Yeah, we still have some on the porch out here every year when they have the Plenty Creek thing.
In April?
Yeah.
Did your family like to sing?
Yeah, they did. Some of them. None of them really, I guess, were experts at it, but they like to sing just walking home from a field. I know my mother, I used to hear her singing, coming from what we call the old field across the creek over there. But most of my brothers were pretty darn good musicians.
Did they play any instruments?
Yeah, what we call a fiddle or a violin, a banjo, and a guitar. We used to have a piano set right over there.
And who played that?
I couldn't play. Matter of fact, I never learned to be a good musician, but I did like to sing.
Did you ever make any alcohol here at a still? Or wine?
Not right here on the farm. They did make it up and down the branches around here, and I'd go over there and help them a little bit. There was a man that made it up the creek here, sold it. He was making whiskey in his still up the creek here, and his son was flying the plane for head man over in Raleigh or whatever.
The governor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. His daddy was the governor, and he was
making corn liquor.
Making liquor.
What happened when somebody got sick? You have home remedies, or you get a doctor, or what?
No, we never did. I don't ever remember getting a doctor. When a newborn child, my mother was a pretty good doctor. She used to ride with a granny woman too, in a buggy.
Did she make her own medicines?
Yeah, some. Make them salve and stuff like that. Some woman moved down here from the mountains and told us how to make eye drops for your eyes. And I tell you what, stuff will burn you up. But my mother mixed it up, let us do some of it like she said, and it helped. There used to be a lot of what they call sore eyes back in the old days. And during them, when they were growing peaches and any kind of fruit, the gnats would swarm, you know, and they get in
your eye?
people's eyes and move about from one place to another. I mean, one town to another and everywhere. And in the school, most of the young ones would all maybe get sore eyes. And there's some that always would get it and move it around for everybody else to have.
They shared their good fortune, huh?
Yeah. But you don't see that anymore much. They used to have something called arger oil that you put in the eyes.
What was that again?
Arger oil.
Oh, I've heard of that.
It's kind of a dark colored stuff. I don't ever see that anymore.
No. Remember Sloan's liniment?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see that anymore either.
No, you don't.
Is there anything else that you would like to tell me?
Well,
especially about the farm and this house?
What?
Mr. Davis, where was your room? Where did you sleep?
Part of the time when I was small, I slept in that room there. When I got bigger, I slept upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going to tell you about, I went around there by that chimney. It's kind of late in the day, and to get the eggs, because I knew where there was a hen nest there. I got there and down on my old fours, crawling toward that nest, and I saw just a little white thing that I knew wasn't supposed to be there. And I got to looking, and it was a snake, not a cottonmouth, whatever, copperhead.
Copperhead.
Yeah. And I didn't have a shell for the gun, and I had my son. He went over across the creek to where my daddy was over there and got a shell from him and come back and shot it there with a shotgun. And when we raked it out, there was two of them. So I think they were getting ready to go in for the winter, because it was in the fall of the year and it was turning cold, you know.
Mm-hmm. They were seeking warm rocks.
But my head was right, it was about that close to it when I saw it.
18 inches. That's too close.
Yeah, that there would be terrible, awful. I got a little bit more careful when I went around there looking for eggs anymore. But
so you left when the war. You left here when the war came in 41. So that would have made you what, 18? Around there, anyway.
Somewhere around there.
And after the war, did you come back here and live?
I lived in Moore County.
But not to this house?
Not to this house.
Mm-hmm.
I might have lived here a while, not very long.
Well, I want to thank you for talking with me today. If you're willing, I mean, I'll come back anytime and listen to you because it's really very interesting for me. I would like to hear about your Navy experiences, and maybe I could share my Navy experiences with you. I was in the Korean War, not the Second World War. We still have something in common. Yeah. So.